Hello, it is January 31st, 2017, and as you know, I'm not doing too many of these updates, but as news warrants, I have to do updates. So let's go ahead and get this update going here. I'm sitting down because I have to read something on the computer. So yeah, we have more news regarding NICE, and now an official April service change proposal has been released. There is please read the link below. I will read this whole article to you, this whole letter to you, because this is a letter from NICE Bus to the Nassau County Legislators, and in this they list the April service change proposals. Now, according to this, the good news is I don't see any elimination of the N35. I don't see any changes to the N35. So personally, if that is the case, I'm very happy, at least cautiously optimistic, that at least they know not to touch the 35, because it carries a lot of people, north of Hempstead. However, they've had some other changes in here. So I'm going to get to the changes, and then I'll read to you. There's also a map, which you can view right now. This map actually shows you in the routes in the red are subject to elimination. Routes or route segments. Routes in the green are subject to a major reduction, and the routes that are blue have no change. So I'm surprised that there is no change to the N21, while they will be making a major reduction in the N27. So let's get to the list here. Route eliminations: the Freeport shuttle, the Hicksville-Wantagh shuttle, and the Rockville Center shuttle. All three of those will be eliminated. The N19 from Freeport to Sunrise Mall will be eliminated. The N36 from Lynbrook to Freeport will be eliminated. The N45 from Belmore to Roosevelt Field will be eliminated. The N47 between Hempstead and North Belmore will be eliminated. The N51 Roosevelt Field Merrick, that will be eliminated. N57 Great Neck Loop will be eliminated, and the N78 and N79 from Hicksville Plainview will be eliminated. But it doesn't go all the way to Plainview. It goes to Woolwyn Mall. So maybe they'll keep this N79. They could get rid of the N78 and just have the N79, which may be a fair compromise. Now, as far as reductions go, they are going to keep the Elmont Flexi, but it's going to be reduced. The N27, it says N27 Roslyn Glen Cove major reductions. I don't know why they're not including again the whole route. I don't know if this is a typo or they plan on putting the N27 back, when they did the April, which will be a disaster if they have it run between Roslyn and Glen Cove. We know what a disaster that was, and I hope that they don't think of doing that, because that was a disaster, with the missed connections in Roslyn and all that stuff. The other reduction, N71, N72, Hempstead, Babylon. Basically, the N72 would stop at Route 110, and the N70 would not go to all the way to Newsday at Pine Lawn Road. And there would also be a reduction to 80 and 81 service between Hicksville and Sunrise Mall. I'm surprised they're keeping that route. I guess they feel that they need to keep some service on that route. It would be a major reduction. So it's anyone's guess, because they're not really being specific as to what reductions will take place. At least on this map, it's very hard to tell. What routes would be eliminated on this map here. I'm looking. They have it in green here for the. We'll see if I can actually go. We're going to go to that map. We're going to go over that map right now. Okay, this is a map here of the proposed service cuts for April 2017 for NICE. Routes in blue, it says, would have no change. Routes in green would have a major reduction. And routes in red would be eliminated. So according to this map, you see, I don't know why they leave the 21 alone, but the 27 is painted in green, which has a reduction. I'm thinking what they could do with the 27 is they could just have it go between Roosevelt Field and Glen Cove, because there's enough routes going between Hempstead, especially if they keep the 35. There are enough routes going between Hempstead and Roosevelt Field that the 27 does not need to go to Hempstead at all. All right, and Monday through Saturday, people can just transfer over to the 16. And this 57 here, that's red, that's being eliminated. I could see that being eliminated because you have the 58, so you don't really need the 57. Or you could make the 57 a flexi, maybe if they get more money to keep that. However, the elimination of the 78, 79 provides there's nothing nearby here. There's nothing nearby. People here are going to, and there's a lot of people who work on these offices here and stores. that will have to take a taxi. That is going to be a disaster for them. A lot of people are going to lose their jobs here. A lot of people work on Sunnyside Boulevard and take that 79. They're going to wind up losing their jobs if they can't get a ride. And, people on Long Island, they don't help you out. They don't give people rides very rarely. And here, you see the 80 and 81 are green, which would be a reduction in service. 70, 71, 72 would be a reduction because they're going to eliminate the 72. This is also bad because a lot of people depend on this. There are some alternatives, but they're not easy. Perhaps Suffolk County could do something to. I don't think so because Suffolk County has their own problems, and they would eliminate the loop going to Newsday. So the 71 would just go to SUNY Farmingdale. I could see that cut. I don't know why anyone even goes to Newsday. They could just run it to SUNY Farmingdale, really. So routes in blue left alone. 19 is eliminated. However, for the 19, the train does parallel it. There are alternatives. That's not the worst cut. Community shuttle gets cut. 47 gets cut. 51 gets cut. 36 gets cut, which I could see the 36 going because, again, the 4 is not that far away from it. So, again, it parallels it. And the Flexi here would also see a reduction. But the other routes that are in blue shouldn't really see too much of their service cut. But what I would suggest for the 27 is having it, first of all, just having a run between Roosevelt Field and Glen Cove. I hope they don't do what they did before with the Roslyn Glen Cove, because that was horrible. That was a big mistake. So I don't know. They're not clear on what exactly they're going to do, or they're just going to reduce the amount of buses on the route. I don't know how they could do that, because rush hours, those buses are pretty crowded. So I don't know exactly what they're going to do with that. But I'm thinking they would eliminate the segment between, in fact, if you look at this, it looks like they do eliminate the segment between Hempstead and also the 45 would be eliminated too. That's kind of bad during college because there are people that take it. There are a good amount of people that take it when the college is in session. But again, the majority of the 45's ridership parallels the 43, so I could see that cut happening as well. One thing I will note that MTA in their original cut proposal actually was going to eliminate the 33. They were also going to eliminate the 54, 55. And they were going to eliminate Saturday service on the 25, I think, or weekend service on the 25. So maybe not quite as bad as MTA's cuts because they did find some savings. But this is still this will be a real disaster if all these cuts take place. What needs to be kept here, as far as I'm concerned, 78, 79. You can get rid of the 78, just have a 79. The 72 needs to keep going to Babylon. There are a good amount of people who take that. That's an important route. That's a big link to Suffolk County right there. That should be left alone. The 80 and the 81, I think one of them should go. Personally, I've suggested them just to keep the 81 and get rid of the 80. The 19, yeah, that could go. There are a good amount of people that take it, but the train parallels it. They could take the train. 45, yeah, I could see that going. 51 for sure, which never should have been brought back. 47, yeah, I could see going as well. 36, oh yeah, the Rockville Center shuttle, that never should have been brought back to begin with. But the worst cut by far of all of these would be the 79 because there's nothing else nearby. All right, so you'll see according to that map, it should clear things up. But let's go ahead and read this letter here. This letter was actually typed out January 27, 2017, and it was addressed to the Nassau County Legislature from the CEO of NICE Bus. Dear Legislator, NICE is a partnership between Nassau County and TransDev, under which each party has specific responsibilities. One of yours is to make decisions about the funding level for the county's public transit system, considering the county's overall fiscal position. I certainly appreciate the financial challenges you face in these difficult times. As your operating partner, it is our responsibility to advise you about the status of the system, including the impact of the county's 2017 funding cuts for NICE. As you know, TransDev cannot spend in excess of known county revenues allocated to NICE each year, a requirement that is firmly established in our contract. Specifically, we are required to present a budget each year by February 15th that is balanced. Even more specifically, we are required to adjust the hours of fixed route and paratransit service, the cost of which must be within the available projected revenue. I am writing you to encourage you to help NICE avoid major disruptive service cuts that will result from a large budget gap looming for 2017. While NICE has worked vigorously to develop a plan to offset $5 million in operating cost growth for 2017, a gap remains due to the $6.8 million reduction in funding from the county for 2017. The purpose of this letter is to encourage you to take any possible steps to restore the $6.8 million to prevent significant cuts in bus service. The realities for 2017. In December, we presented NICE's 2017 budget to the Bus Transit Committee. That budget showed a $12 million reduction from our 2016 budget of $135 million. There are two components of this $12 million gap. The first component of the budget gap is a $6.8 million cut in discretionary funding for NICE from the county compared to 2016. This came about in two steps of $3 million and a second of $3.8 million to achieve NIFA approval. The second component of this budget gap is an expected increase in operating costs of about $5 million. This is due to several factors, the largest of which is a labor contract expiring in April 2017. We note, as our TWU bargaining unit surely has, that another TWU unit just settled with the MTA for annual wage increases of 3.6% plus some other provisions. In addition, last year we were forced to cut bus service levels due to a funding shortfall, but we were able to restore that service mid-year when the county provided additional funding to cover the service. 2017 will have a full year of that restored service, which accounts for another major portion of the $5 million operating cost shortfall. For several months, NICE has examined ways to offset the entire $5 million in operating cost increases with a combination of operating efficiencies, reductions in overhead, and increased fare box revenue due to the MetroCard price change. I am pleased to report to you that we have successfully found ways to offset the $5 million in cost increases. It will involve painful actions like closing a facility, that's Rockville Center Depot, layoffs, foregoing merit increases, and other steps that will pose some challenges. The responsibility for bringing all those savings to reality will be TransDev's. A $6.8 million budget gap remains. Despite sharply reducing the budget gap, we are still faced with $6.8 million in county funding reductions. Unless additional county funding can be found, we will be forced to recommend elimination of 8 bus routes entirely and significant reductions to 4 others. There are many other bus routes that will be affected too, but the adjustments do not rise to the level of requiring Bus Transit Committee approval. Attached is a chart and a map describing those changes that do require Bus Transit Committee approval. We are writing this letter to advise that the scale of these cuts will be significant and you must be made aware of the effect that this will have on many people. These eliminations and reductions will have consequences for many riders who rely on transit for access to jobs, college, health care, child care, and more. Assuming the county cannot find additional funding, NICE service reductions will affect about 5,400 passengers per weekday. In terms of total passenger trips, this reduction equates to cutting 27,000 passenger bus trips each week and 5,000 weekend trips. To avoid these serious cuts, we urge you to restore the $6.8 million in funding for NICE that was present in the 2016 budget. As you may already know, there seems to be little likelihood of an increase in state operational subsidy for transit in 2017 in Nassau or any part of the state. Please note that in mid-February, we do plan to recommend to the Bus Transit Committee that the Able Ride service area remain unchanged, which means that the entire $6.8 million funding reduction must be addressed through cuts and reductions to bus service if our recommendations are accepted. Our partnership has delivered many benefits to the county. We are committed to being an excellent partner to the county and hope that the actions described above reflect that commitment. Our partnership has delivered many benefits to the county. NICE has delivered on its promise of efficient systems, processes, and technology to provide cost savings as well as quality service. We have improved operations, built a state-of-the-art technology infrastructure, launched mobile ticketing, trained our bus riders in order to improve customer service, and much more. Furthermore, NICE has been transformed into one of the region's most efficient operating systems. NICE's cost per hour, cost per mile, and cost per trip are all significantly lower than the bus services of MTA, New Jersey Transit, and Westchester counties. Nassau County is today paying significantly less for its transit system than had the service continued under the MTA. Over 5 years, the public-private partnership has saved Nassau County an estimated $209 million compared to the MTA's cost projections for that same period. And in 5 years, NICE has maintained 92% of the original MTA service hours. Looking forward, over the last 5 years, the county's discretionary funding has been inconsistent and unpredictable, which has resulted in service increases and decreases that have been extremely frustrating to passengers who depend on transit for their mobility. In the long term, a reliable, recurring revenue source is needed to maintain this vital service. A dedicated source of funding, disconnected from the county's general fund, would provide for intelligent planning and relieve you of the difficult choices between transit and other priorities in any given year. The MTA and most other U.S. transit systems have such dedicated funding sources. We stand ready to work with Nassau and surrounding suburban counties on this solution. And, as you may know, we have done our best to help Nassau County and Albany. In conclusion, NICE has been a great success because of the effective partnership and great work done by both partners, the county and TransDev. We believe that it is our duty to make sure you have full and clear information about the crisis about to befall NICE and its riders. I have met with several legislators on these matters, but now feel compelled to send this communication to you as well. Please understand that we at TransDev are transit advocates. We care about our passengers. We worry that cutting bus service to this extent could restart a downward spiral for your transit system. In fact, we believe that even the current level of service falls short of the real needs of Nassau County's transit riders. If indeed no additional funding can be found to restore the $6.8 million that had been cut from NICE's 2017 budget, then TransDev will professionally execute what it is required to do. However, we want to ensure that you are not surprised by these service cuts and whatever reaction might follow. The TransDev staff stands ready to assist you in any way possible, and this is sincerely Michael Setzer, CEO of Nassau Intercounty Express. A very well-written letter, even though I may disagree with some of the points regarding reliability of NICE, and I don't think it's been a success at all, actually. But that is in part due to, it's in part due to TransDev, but it's also in part due to the uncertain funding that NICE has to face every single year. These cuts, while there could be reductions in all other routes, basically. So even if your route isn't on this list, they could still wind up cutting trips on the N35. They could still wind up cutting trips in other areas. Now, I did speak with Mr. Setzer yesterday when I was at that meeting. He said, and at least what he indicated, is that the articulated buses that they're getting will not result in longer headways on the N6, which is where they're going to first be used. However, I think that if they can lengthen the headways by using these articulated, I think they should do that if it would save some money. The articulated buses are out. I meant to tell you a couple of weeks ago I saw one. So they are out there training them. I've seen them on Hempstead Turnpike. Now, I will say, according to now, a friend of mine just sent me a message saying that he just saw a breakdown yesterday. But I will say, at least from my experience, that I have not seen as many breakdowns lately. It does seem like the maintenance is a little better. Closing the Rockville Center Depot is a huge mistake. However, I have been told that this is something that is probably most likely going to happen because they're already in negotiations that these rich people that moved in all the luxury condos that have been built around the depot. These rich people, they don't want the depot there, even though this is the attitude of the rich people that come here to all, especially particularly those communities on the South Shore, that their shit doesn't stink and they're important and they don't want the depot there anymore, even though the depot has been there long before they were. That's the attitude of these people, and unfortunately, they're politically connected, and I think that closing the depot is a huge mistake. Operationally speaking, and it will cost, Nassau will have to pay back those funds. In addition to the fact that the land that the depot sits on, it's contaminated. They're going to have to clean that up. There's going to be a huge cleanup. Who's going to foot the bill for that? It's going to have to be the developer. So I don't think it's a good idea to close that depot. I think that's a huge mistake. But as far as the county goes, the county says they don't have the money. That's what the county says. I'm glad that the NICE sent this letter to the legislators, because the legislators need to realize how serious the situation is and when the cuts are going to take place and all the people that are going to be, they cut service, it will cause a downward spiral, because when you cut this amount of service, you will get a reduction in the state aid. So yeah, I do think there needs to be, I think the county needs to come up with a solution. I think the state needs to come up with a solution, because we have a situation that is going to be a huge impact to, the economy of Nassau. It's going to be a huge impact. Crime will go up. You're talking at least thousands of people losing their jobs, and a lot of them are going to wind up going on welfare. Some of them will turn to crime, and it will actually result in increased cost for the county in the form of welfare. The county is looking. I think the county needs to come up with some of the money, at least some of the money. Now, let me state that NIFA is not our friend. Some people think NIFA is our friend. NIFA, people blame NIFA for this. NIFA does not help the situation because NIFA rejected the county's budget. That's why these cuts are happening partially. And NIFA is not our friend. They, in fact, are our enemy. They are a state board that has been imposed on Nassau County, and they are actually taking away our right to make our budget. And so even if the county can find money, we still may be under the criticism of NIFA. And I think the folks at NIFA should put themselves in the shoes of bus riders. The buses are an essential service, and it shouldn't be considered discretionary spending. It should be considered essential spending. And as far as TransDev goes, yeah, they guaranteed to be able to operate the system under the $2.6 million. That's true. They said we can do it. But I think they also thought that the state aid would go up a little more than they expected. They didn't. I'm not letting TransDev off the hook here, all right? I still think MTA could do a better job. However, from what I hear, MTA hates us. They hate Long Island. They don't want to come out here again. It's unfortunate, but I've had numerous drivers tell me that. So at least under Cuomo, that's the way it is. Right now, we've got to stop these cuts. I think I've gone before the legislature numerous times. I've spoken with Norma Gonzalez. They need to find a way to get some money here, all right? Maybe not all the money, but some of that $6.8 million needs to be restored, so at least some of these cuts can be minimized. So there will be a meeting sometime in February about this when the Bus Transportation Committee meets again, as I said before. But I will say it again that the state's priorities are very screwed up. The Wi-Fi, all these improvements to Wi-Fi and all this other stuff, it's like, why do Belmore and Merrick need any renovation? I still am perplexed by that. There's political connections going on. You have a lot of white people who work on Wall Street who are very politically connected to the state Senate, and that's why they get their way every single time. They saw that the main line, now we're going to get that kind of stuff too. Our stations are getting renovated as part of the third track project. But, these South Shore people say, we want Wi-Fi too. We want all that stuff too. God forbid we could have something they don't. That's just not the way it works because of these political connections. And I'm tired of I don't really want to go too off topic with this stuff, but there is racism, there is discrimination, there is favoritism going on in this state for wealthy white people, white-collar people who work in the financial sector, CEOs, all these people who use transit, they get their service, but yet the people who don't earn that kind of money, people who earn less, who use the bus, are treated like crap. This crap has got to stop. We need transit equity. We're not seeing transit equity right now. This stuff is going on because of transit inequity. And that's what that meeting yesterday was about, that we have to address this transit inequity that's going on. Long Islanders pay a lot of money in payroll tax to the MTA. And most of that's going to the city, because when you take a look at the majority of MTA services, probably like 75% goes to New York City. And that's literally us subsidizing New York City. And what are we getting in return? We're getting cuts. So it's a real serious problem. Like I said before, the Nassau County needs to work to restore some of this funding, and they can't completely count on the state. I still think Norma Gonzalez, you need to come up with a way, because these cuts are gonna be devastating, really devastating. To at least fund some of it, all right? And NIFA, you're just as much to blame as Ed Mangano and Nassau County. NIFA caused this problem by rejecting that. The NIFA should have told the county, we are not going to approve a budget that has cuts to funding for buses. But they did. They did. And that shows you that NIFA doesn't give a shit about us. and they're a state board, obviously appointed by Cuomo, and I think NYFA needs to be going away, personally, because they haven't done anything to get this county back on solid footing ground. They're an interference to our right to self-government. And I think that, if Nassau wants to restore the funding and it's blocked by NYFA, I think Nassau needs to go and start getting rid of NYFA once and for all. Because they haven't done a damn thing for us bus riders. They've been nothing but problems. Just like Ed Mangano. They're not any better. So that is what's going on with the latest. So these are serious cuts, still serious cuts. And I still think closing the depot was a huge mistake. I am tired. I've lived on Long Island my whole life, and and I said it before, I said it again. I'm tired of these rich people who think their shit doesn't stink, taking over all the decent towns, and then acting, they have no respect for the people who were here, the people in the facilities that were there first. They just come in and they want it their way. I said before, I don't have a problem with the rich people. If they have respect for other people, they don't. They think they're better than everybody. And they come in and they use their political clout to get all this stuff on the Babylon branch. They get their luxury train stations. They get all this stuff. They're going to get free Wi-Fi. They're going to get charging stations. But the people who take the bus, who work in your restaurants, in your stores, students, they're going to be left stranded. Something's seriously wrong with that. We need transit equity in this state. We need to be treated equally. I believe in equal treatment, and that's what we're not getting that right now on Long Island. We're judged based on our race, our disability, how much money we make, and then there are people out there who think that, well, we shouldn't have buses. These ignorant people, they know who they are, think that we shouldn't have buses. It's not going to affect them. You know what I mean? If you don't drive, you don't belong on Long Island. All this stupid crap that these ignorant people say. They are so stupid, because if you cut the service, the crime will go up, the taxes will go up because the welfare rolls will go up, and the economy will suffer. Places of business will be like, we're gonna close Long Island because people can't get to our work. Not everybody, most of the jobs on Long Island are not jobs for rich people. They're jobs for lower and middle class people. All the rich people you see here on Long Island, the majority of them are New York City commuters. All right. Not many of them, actually. The only segment that probably does live on Long Island would be the doctors and stuff. But most of these city commuters, that's where the money is coming from. That's why all these areas that have good train service get snatched up by these rich people. Again, I will make it clear, I am not angry at rich people. I have no problem with rich people, but I do ask that there should be a mutual amount of respect. We're not seeing that right now. Just because you work on Wall Street, drive a Mercedes, dress in designer clothes, doesn't make you any better than somebody who works in a store, or goes to school, or can't work due to a disability. It doesn't make you any better than that, and it doesn't mean that you should have more of a right to stuff than they do. And I'm talking about stuff like buses. I'm talking about stuff like safe housing and police. That's what I'm talking about. Here I'm going on an off-topic tangent here, but it just pisses me off what's going on right now. And so that's the latest. If I have any more news beside this, I'll share it with you. I'll be the first to share it with you. All right, but please read the link below. We have stories. News 12 did a story on it too. So we have stories and all kinds of things about this situation. But it is a bad situation that if these cuts happen, it starts to spiral downward. And the elimination of the the 879, a lot of people take that 79. You know who's going to really love it? You know who's really going to love it? Oyster Rides. Yeah, they're another taxi company. And there needs to be talk about that too, these taxi companies and the connections they have. It's ridiculous, it really is. But these cuts need to be prevented. That's the bottom line. I'm looking at Nassau County and I'm looking at New York State. You gotta do the right thing here, all right? Do your freaking job. You're not supposed to be taking us backward. You're supposed to be taking us forward. So please take us forward, not backward. That's it. Have a good night.